There's a growing trend in South Carolina. When the criminal courts deliver little accountability, victims are turning to civil lawsuits for answers. Live 5's investigative reporter Emily Johnson tells us how one Charleston man is finally finding accountability somewhere else.
Inside the Charleston County Courthouse on June 6, 2024, Travis Odell stood in front of the man who left him for dead.
I wish that you had to look at all of the pictures and videos of what you did to me on repeat, because you were not there in the hospital when I was dying.
What exactly left him in the hospital dying? Odell was driving a pedicab for customers in downtown Charleston on May 13, 2022, when he was suddenly hit from behind.
Within 8 seconds, a literal blur goes by. The term someone used was speeding bullet.
Attorneys say Odell was launched more than 80 feet into the air and slid another 60 feet once he hit the pavement.
To put that in perspective, when I was on the step-down floor at MUSC, I was on the 8th floor, which is 8 stories tall. And so I flew about that distance.
Andrew Dimitri, then 22, was driving a black BMW going about 75 miles per hour near Meeting and George Streets. Court records state Dimitri had a .165 blood alcohol level at the time of the crash, twice the legal limit. He left the scene and was found about 6 blocks away near Market and Meeting Streets.
I was physically immobile, couldn't move. All 4 quadrants of my body were damaged, both legs, both arms in some way.
Odell, a man who loved to hike, run, and surf, was left with 22 broken bones, and since then has had over 20 surgeries.
And it was almost ironic because I'd never broken a bone before, and then I broke, I think it was 22 at once. Well, I didn't break them. Someone else broke them for me.
Fast forward to February of last year, after Dimitri was let out on bond for the charges, he was arrested again on assault and battery, allegedly leaving a young woman with a fractured rib, cuts, and bruises. Clearly a violation of his bond, Dimitri's attorneys quickly shifted his case.
So they've decided to turn that bond revocation hearing into a plea hearing. And that was like being hit by a car all over again, because I was like, what are you telling me?
In June last year, Odell and Dimitri stood before Judge Bentley Price, just weeks before he vacated the bench indefinitely after being deemed unqualified by the South Carolina Bar Association.
This is someone saying, aha, this is our literal get out of jail free card. Let's take advantage of it.
Dimitri pleaded guilty to DUI charges but entered an Alford plea for fleeing the scene of the crime, which means he accepted the sentencing but did not admit guilt. Price sentenced Dimitri to only 1 year in prison, a charge that could be up to 30 years behind bars. But Dimitri only spent 160 days in prison, getting released on November 27th, 2024.
I think it was my 19th surgery on the day after Thanksgiving. And I get messages from the state of South Carolina telling me that he's going to be released from his 1-year sentence. You want to talk about ironic and you want to talk about unjust? He didn't even have to miss a holiday with his family.
Trying to find some form of justice in his case, Odell contacted attorney Roy Willey to take civil actions against Dimitri. Just this month, he was rewarded millions from Dimitri, the man who changed his life, and multiple Charleston bars who overserved him the night of the crash.
We can't fix the fact that Travis was in ICU and in hospitals for months and lost that time from his life, right? We can't fix that. We can make up for it with money. That's what our system allows, right?
And Odell is not the first victim in South Carolina to seek justice beyond the criminal justice system. Courts awarded $700 million to murder victim Brittany Drexel's family, $15 million to Mallory Beach's family, the girl killed in a 2019 Murdoch-connected boat wreck, $10 million in the death of Charleston inmate Jamal Sutherland, and over $1 million to the passengers of the 2023 Folly Beach golf cart crash that killed a bride on her wedding night.
Whether it's criminal justice or civil justice, people want answers. And a lot of times, because of how the criminal justice system works, they can't get all the answers, that they're looking for. And so people turn to civil justice.
Willie says there are massive differences between the two systems and what needs to be proven to see direct results.
When you send somebody to prison in the criminal system, you're taking away their freedom. That's what we value most in this country, and so the burden of proof is higher. In the civil system, we are fixing, helping, and making up for whatever we can for that victim, and so the burden of proof is lower because it's just money, it's not freedom.
CEO of the National Center for Victims of Crime, Renee Williams, says there is a lot of criticism and misconceptions around victims taking civil action against perpetrators.
There's this misconception that if you file a lawsuit, it's all about money. And I will say that no victim has ever come to us and said they were worried about a jury verdict or getting money. They almost always say that they didn't feel justice was done, and they want to make sure that this doesn't happen to anybody else.
Both Williams and Odell say victims are really left out of the criminal process, which is why the civil process allows an opportunity to see direct results and sometimes change.
It was made very clear that while I was the victim, I was not the one being represented. It's the state versus Andrew.
When they become the plaintiffs in a civil suit, they're really driving the boat. A lot of times it's the first time they've had control over a case, and it's first time they've been able to exert that control. And so that's incredibly freeing.
Even if Odell felt his voice was not heard when he stood before the man who broke 22 of his bones, at least now he can walk away with a different kind of justice.
We can't really even adequately make up for that loss of ability to walk, but we can help it.
The justice to be had isn't in the criminal justice system, it's more on the civil side.
For Live 5 Investigates, I'm Emily Johnson.